All right, welcome back to the second third of the October meeting for the Hampton Ship Model Society. It's the show and tell portion. Rylan Craze is about to show us his model of Queen Anne's barge. Take it away, Rylan.
Okay, this is the model of the Queen Anne Royal Barge. This is a kit by Siren Ship Model designed by Chuck Passaro, and it is basically all cherry. It will have some boxwood carvings on it. It'll be my first attempt at carving. And finally got all the planking done. There was quite a bit of a bend I had to put up here. And if you look, it's clinker planking. And it's the first time I've done clinker, where the clinker is where the strakes overlap each other. And this is all the planking this model will have. Some of the complex areas, I think, were back here in the back. That was, I just didn't like the look of the way the run of the planks were. And what I did from here and here, I took some this CA remover and had to release the planks. The planks are put on by CA, and I kind of bent them back down because they were heading too far up, and planks would have been above the transom here. So it's a weird look, but it seems right now that there will be another transom that will go back here on the very tail. I've got to clean it up. And so once I get that installed, the next thing to do is to remove this stand here from the model. And then I've got the frame centers. They will be the next to come out. And once I break the frame centers out, it'll just be the ribs left. And then I'll just start working on the interior. But all the planking is finished. And the good thing about this model is it's not rigged.
Oh, yes.
So that's that.
I have some questions. I didn't take a close look at it. The frames aren't notched for the overlapping things, or are they?
If you look, I'm trying to, let's see, it's kind of hard to see if I can hold it straight, but
They're smooth.
they're two-piece frames back here. They got floors on the
Right, but they're not notched to follow the overlaps of the planks.
right. No, what I did is I had to sand down the plank, and I wasn't used to planking this way because you started planking midway and going up. I always either start at the top and work my way down, or from the bottom and work my way up. Sometimes I'll do both and meet in the middle. But I measured everything off of the plans, and you had to be.
That's unusual and going to be weird when you get to the keel.
Well, no more plank. The planking's finished.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
It's planking is finished, and I don't think you can see here. But
presentation model.
It's something that it's based on a model in the National Maritime Museum.
Gotcha.
And I don't have a bill log yet on model ship rule. I've got to start it, but I wanted to get a good ways going. The worst thing was here in the back, this was real flexible. So I put in some braces here to keep this from flexing. It's really flimsy back here, but I didn't want to get my transom to get off. And, but that's, I'm happy with it. And same thing up here in the front. I had to put this piece of wood, and I planked from this side right here. And this kept at the time when I first started my planking, there were no planks. So if I didn't have this piece here, the stem would have moved back and forth, just enough to throw it off where it wouldn't be centered. But, it's been fun so far. It's been a little frustrating in the back, but I was able to pull everything off. I woke up in the middle of the night and said, I gotta check this. And then when I got up, I started working on it, and 4 hours later, I had it fixed. So that's that.
Planks, pre-cut? shape?
Yes. And they really, very little cleanup. I don't know, Chuck did a really good job. Yeah, Al.
Is anchor the same thing as lap spring? Same
Mhm.
thing, okay. Derived from clincher nails are driven through the waiting period. It's not, remove or wash through, it cuts down into wood. And it's for clinker.
Yeah. Well, this one, I've got to put my nails in. There's a bunch of nails that go in that's simulated, and so I've got to drill, a hole, probably using a number 76 drill or something like that. And I'll be using monofilament line to simulate the nails. But the problem is that these planks are less than a 32nd of an inch thick, and you can't drill through. If you do, because you can see the inside of these planks, you don't want to drill through. So that's going to be a challenge. I think everybody has said that. Somebody said, hey, if you just drill through, painted the color of cherry, but that I don't want to do that. The next thing I've got is I attended the Admiralty Models Workshop in Annapolis. This was put on by Greg Herbert and Chuck Passaro. And part of the class was that we learned to make rope. And so I had to buy a rope walk. And this is a siren rope walk that I assembled. And then we went through the course and learned to line up, get everything lined up, and then get everything tensioned properly. And so that's the rope I made right here. It is, I was real pleased with it. You can cut it. It doesn't unravel. There's a lot of, I don't want to say secrets, but there are techniques that you use with this to keep it from unraveling. And one of them is that you put it in a little baking oven and bake it at 300 degrees for 5 minutes. Because this is poly thread. If you do hotter, if you went up to 400 degrees or something like that, you'll have a pile of polyester, I guess. But it's still pliable rope. You can cut it. It doesn't unravel, and you can run your fingers along it, and it's not lumpy, anything like that. And everybody up there that made rope did a good job. We had Heinz Schiller, Henry Shakulin was there, Tom Ruggiero, even Michael Ellison was there. He's up on here. And we all had a good time. It was really a good seminar. But so now I've got a rope walker to this, and I've already got the color codes to order more rope, so I'll be making my own rope now.
Does the baking make it shiny at all?
No, I'll pass this around. But if I had scissors, y'all welcome to any of it if you want. But it's very. That is Gudeman Mara rope. But,
What did you use for an oven?
he just used a little toaster oven. Set it on 300 degrees.
Control the temperature.
And he took. He had some, I guess, metal napkin rings that are about just big around, and he wrapped the rope around it, and it, just baked it. And it worked out pretty good. So the unfortunate thing is that everybody attended that class are now on Chuck's do not buy list. He will not sell you rope anymore.
yourself,
Yeah.
That makes some good stuff.
I'm gonna go next since his is lapstrake and mine is as well. We'll follow one with another. Not much has changed since I brought this in last, but after my column in the logbook, I decided I needed to bring it in. Is blurry on the screen here? Okay.
Close.
Yeah. So last time I brought it in, there were 2 planks on each side. Now I've got 3 on one and 2/3 of the 4th on another. If you want later, you can, I'll trust you to pick it up. And so the butt blocks are starting to go in. It shows where the planks overlap. Ron talked about clinch nails and rows. Clinch nails just go in and they just bend the nail over. These have rows, and then the end is just peened with a hammer until it mushrooms out forms like a copper rivet. So I may have already described how I did that in the past. I think, yeah, I did that. So I won't go into that again. But that's where I am with that one. And then I brought in, just for kicks, template that was cut for that plank. So, and then I was just going to point out, so I was curious, Rylan, on yours, how did you know where to position each one of your planks? Was it marked on there, or?
I took it off the plans.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. I had a problem with, you're trying to control the plank on frame, you've got the previous plank as a reference to go to, and you can kind of, you don't want to bend it up to that, but I mean, it's a fixed position. That edge can't move. On a lap straight, it can move back and forth. You've got to position the top and the bottom simultaneously, and I was having a really hard time with that. So I put in, I knew where the bottom was supposed to be, and I put in these temporary cleats. And then I would shape the bottom and make sure that it hit each one of those cleats without any kind of edge bending. And I left the top larger than it needed to be. And then I don't have it here, but I put a piece of tape along here outside where the lapped edge is supposed to be. Put my oversized plank on there, scribe the line, and then I could see where it was too far, the degree to which it was oversized at each point. I can go over that in more detail as a tech talk or something later. I won't take any time now.
mine were laser etched.
Yeah.
The line was sort of
Yeah.
different
So I
place.
had to shape mine, but it's quite difficult to shape both edges at once and make sure that they stay in the right position. I didn't have that planned out in advance. It's kind of, you learn as you go.
Are you thinning the overlap edges at all?
We're in this part of the hall, it's so flat that I don't have to bevel it much. When I get to the turn of the bilge, I'm going to have to do that. It's a plank keel, meaning that it's wider than it is deep, and it's kind of like a keystone shape. So that what you see here is just a rectangular slab, and then there's a beveled edge that goes out. So it gets wider, and that landing had to be. Well, it's not really. It's like an external rabbet, really, right? Because it's outside but that had to be beveled to have the right shape. And again, when I get to the edge, I'll have to do a little bit, but it's so thin. There's only but so much you can do. Anyway, proof that it's proceeding, albeit slowly. Who's the next victim?
Guess that'd be me. In July, my wife and I were visiting the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum in St. Michael's, Maryland. They have it's a decent museum, nowhere near as good as here. But there, in their shop, I found a kit just for me. It's the St. Michael's skiff, St. Michael's outboard skiff. It's called the Smith Island Outboard Skiff, and $45. And it's made especially for beginners, and I am definitely a beginner. Especially designed for beginners, so that had me sold. It only took me about maybe a month to build it. Small, and it's a fishing boat. It's an industrial boat. People build this because they're quick and cheap, and the model is quick and cheap too. And that's right for me. So it was fun, and I can see results real quick.
And $45, great investment.
Move it more in front of the camera or move the camera?
Oh, sorry about
Move it
that.
down in front of the,
Thank you.
It's like the real thing. It's rugged and simple. The instructions are somewhat brief, giving you a lot of verbal instructions with just a few photographs. And that was confusing, so I contacted the Maritime Museum. It was put on by the Model Makers Guild within that museum as a fundraising project. And they told me the main instructions are online on the computer. Aha, the light went on, so I started following that. Very quick progression. It was a fun bill. Highly recommended, especially for beginners like me.
Is that from the Chesapeake Bay St. Michael's Museum, or who is the producer?
That's it. Yep, it's Chesapeake Bay.
That's where you bought it.
That's
They
where I
also
bought
make
it.
The kit?
Uh-huh. And it's Chesapeake Bay, I'm reading right from it, Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum,
Uh-huh.
the model makers. Can you see it okay?
move it up.
Got it. Yep.
It's
Thank you.
within the model guild within the museum.
Okay.
Bunch of people just like us getting together there as a fundraising project. And I printed out several extras if anybody wants to contact them and perhaps buy it. They have a couple other kits as well.
So that brings up a piece of old business that I missed. I'm going to go back to that because it's
Yes.
timely. On November 12th, there is a model boat show in Oxford, Maryland, which is a stone's throw away from St. Michael's.
Ah,
And I'm going to go. I'm 99% certain Gene Berger is going, Don Good is going. Butch is the one that let us know about it. I don't know if he's going or not. I sent out an email later, so everyone has already been informed about it. But I wanted to give a reminder in case
Yes.
you had second thoughts and wanted to join. We're going to be up there. So since we'll be so close, if there's anyone that wanted it, probably talk us into going to pick it up for you.
that'll be good.
So one, if you were on the fence about whether to go, a reminder that, you might want to participate in that boat show. And two, if you wanted one of these kits, we might be able to help you out.
That's good.
I got something else on, have you heard of Y River model boats?
Have actually participated in the electric boat regatta on the White River.
Okay, well, there's a company that makes work boats, and we have two kits from Dennis Hobbs' estate that we'll be auctioning off. One is a crabbing skiff,
Oh,
and the other one is a work boat.
that does sound good.
They're really nice models, they're built the same way yours are right here. You just lay it over the frames and pull it over that.
That does sound
So
good.
they'll be going up in the auction. November probably.
That sounds good. I like that. That's my kind of boat.
Yeah. If you go to Reedville, they have a nice museum of the Waterman's Museum up in Reedville. And, it's just a room full of some guy built 100 of them. Of just different, crabbing skiffs, fishing boats.
Good
The
work
Reedfield
boats.
Museum's shop would build one of those skiffs once a year and they would auction it off. As part of their fundraiser.
That's
A full-size skiff.
a good fundraiser.
Yeah, where's that? Reedfield.
Reedfield, yeah.
I don't know if they still do that.
They also have a really nice waterfowl carving exhibit, a waterfowl
Oh,
park.
And a railroad exhibit.
Ah, neat.
They have a big, huge model train layout.
That'd be a great diorama. Be neat.
I'm sure there's a waterfront part to that. I was just there a year ago. I don't remember exactly. That covers everything that's on the table, but I know I've seen some stuff back.
Most of you guys aren't gonna be old enough to remember this, but I don't have a ship model, but back in the late 70s, when I was 17, I had plans to build a giant model of the Constitution. So I wrote to the US Navy and I asked for plans. And I guess these are printings off of microfilm that are super detailed, and obviously dated with it, with age. But each of the decks, and my focal point cross sections, they're
These dated,
there is a date, there is a plate in the corner. They've actually cut some of them off. 1931.
these are not Charles Davis, are they?
I don't know. The U.S. Navy sent them to me, so there's a nice section of the stem. And I have about a dozen of them there. They're on the table if anybody would like to see them. Someday when I'm retired, maybe I'll finish that model that I started in 75, 76. I got as far as the keel, and then I went to college, and then I had kids, and never got back to it. I'm assuming if you write the Navy now, you get a digital file. Write yourself. Back then, they sent you this.
Don, you doing your sirens?
So in past meetings, I had mentioned I had put Siren to the side because I was struggling trying to get through how I was going to do the coppering. And I went and started working on a model of the Arizona instead. So after some time thinking about how I wanted to do the coppering and looking on the NRG site at some various methods that people did, I came up with a method that I think is now that I'm happy with. So one of the things I started off with was John had given me this this apparatus with a box of copper. So this isn't exactly my original idea, but I did morph it into something that I can use for my particular model. So it's essentially a press, and the press does come apart. So the copper, the rivet pieces, if I can get that lined up, I've laid out on a CAD program. I laid out the various different plates that I wanted, and then created stamps. So this is what I put on the bottom and the side or back of the keel, the stern portion of the keel. And then I have a template that I've got to drill out and put for the port side. And of course, the stamp that I've created for the starboard side. And then I'm using dressmaker pins that I put into the block, and then using a disc sander, sand it down to a certain depth so that they're all the same piece. And behind this, between this block, that's the press, and the stamp, there's a piece of metal.
Would you hold that in front of the camera, please?
Sure. So between the stamp and the press block, there's just a thin piece of metal steel to give it a solid surface, so that as I'm pressing my plates, the pins don't drive down into the block. So that goes into the press. There's of course springs, or quite a few of them. So as I feed my copper plate, I just press down and it puts an impression on the copper plate. And so how I do that, I'm using the kit's copper foil tape. I made a kind of a starting jig that I sit into my press, so that as I feed the first plate portion of my strip into it, it gets me a positive stop, because one of the things I found that was a problem, I couldn't see into the press, so I had to make a blind stop. I press the first one, I remove the blank, and then I can then see my lineup thing. It's probably going to be a little too hard to see on the thing, but then I can move the tape to the next position, press, move it to the next position, and so forth. And how I figured out the position was in CAD, I laid out each plate in a line, and I cut my strips to this size. I marked the strip with each of the plate pieces, and then I can feed it and I can see each one. And so this was my first run, and I've since tweaked it a little, but that's the copper plate that I end up getting. And then as the place it on the model, you can see each of the copper plates. So I've got one full row done, and I've started putting it. And so when I put the plate on, of course, it's self-sticking. I just take a cotton swab and I just run it over it to make sure that it's all pressed in, and the dimples get a little more pressed in, so it looks like a nail head instead of like a bolt or something. So that's my process. I'm pretty happy with that now. So now I'm back on the siren again.
Very realistic.
Thank you.
What is the shift? Is it the siren?
It's the siren. Yeah.
Are you going to leave it bright color?
No, I believe I'm going to weather it some. I think in a previous meeting earlier in the year, I showed a model that had gone green type of deal, and I kind of like that. I probably won't go to that level. I'll probably try to get it to a used penny type of color, but I'm not there yet. I still got to play around with that. This is my first coppering that I've ever done, so it'll probably take me a little while to get the courage to try to weather it. But I do want to weather it. I don't think I want to leave it a shiny new penny.
Would you be willing to make another jig and sell it if somebody asked you for one?
Well, I will tell you, on the NRG site, a lot of people use the Micromots press it. There's quite a few folks. Graham is the one that I had been following, and he uses the Micromot press. And I'm a poor man's modeler. I didn't want to do that, and John had already given me a press. It just took me a little while to kind of do it.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it'd be great if you did like a ships and scale article or something on that.
Yeah, between work and I get very little time to do this, so there's not much time to do that. But maybe someday I'll do it. I want to finish the side at least to make sure I get it
He
down.
needs to prove that it works. First.
Exactly right. A couple rows isn't yet proof.
Looks great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Retirement frees up a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm a long way from that.
We'll catch up to you.
Any other show and tell in the room?
Quick note, just a quick note.
Tell then.
I read an excellent book describing the Monitor and Merrimack. It describes from the inception of designs right through all the politics in Washington, building the Monitor, and gyrations down here in Portsmouth, building the Merrimack. And then it goes right through the battle and in graphic detail on Hampton Roads. It's an easy reading book. It's about 300 pages. It's a book that I couldn't put down. And it's called The Iron Dawn by Richard Snow, and it was loaned to me, so I don't have a copy of it, but
Does he call it the Merrimack for the book?
yeah, well.
As opposed to the
Yeah,
Virginia?
no, it was called the Merrimack, and in fact, I'll pass this around, well, all right, I'll pass this around.
But the historic.
Even in the South, it was
Contemporary
called the Merrimack.
Most of the references at the time called, continue to call it the Merrimack.
Yeah, there were a few places where it's called the Virginia, but not many. Excellent book, if you're interested.
How about online? Is there anyone that's sharing online?
I have one.
Okay.
Okay, I want to switch the camera around if I can. There we go. Sorry.
All right, look at that. All right. Hey.
Working on the Arleigh Burke. Just got it, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago. And we finally have the hull shaped and just doing some rough work to get the superstructure sub-assemblies done. So there's still quite a bit of work to do on it, but it's getting there. I will say, this is a 1/16 model, so it's like 31 inches long. But this hull is one of the more beautiful hull shapes that I think I've worked on. It's very, very, very graceful lines.
Who makes the kit? I'm presuming it's a kit.
Blue Jacket kit.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
The stern on the Flight 1 Berks curves down after the rudders. That was my idea, so I'm kind of visual. To prevent the ship squatting at high speed. Is that included in the whole form from the kit or not? They dropped it after the second flight of ships of that class.
Say it again. What about the stern?
In order, a ship traveling in shallow water will squat, and you have the danger of hitting the propellers and or the rudders on the bottom of the water. So the Germans, when they were allowed to start building warships again in the mid-1920s, made the stern comes up and then it comes back down a little bit abaft the rudders and the propellers. That provides, oddly enough, in shallow water, a little lift, so you can go fast in no shallow water. By the way, I had then to go brief several admirals on this brilliant idea, and I was told by an admiral said to me, Mr. Baker, that may work in European waters, but will it work here? That is a true story. And I gathered he hadn't had much sea duty. 3-star career. Anyway, it's just, it doesn't have to be in a model, but it was in the ones, and they still haven't retired any of them, so it's still very much. Yeah. It'd be interesting to know whether the kit shows that feature or not.
No.
No, okay.
Are you done, John?
That's it.
Okay, anyone else online sharing today?
Good work, John.
Thanks.
I have something to show, if you let me screen share.
Yep.
Okay, you see that?
Yep, we do.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is the model of the Titanic I've been working on. And you notice, if you can follow my pointer, this is the fore well deck. And I put the two cranes here, cargo handling cranes, and this is the aft well deck. And This is an electric winch that I had to put drums on because the drums castings are pretty crappy. Also, you'll notice here, this is the second class entryway. And you notice the bench here. That's photo etch, as is the crane boom. The crane boom and the boom rests. This is stretchable wire, stretchable rigging line that I used. And this is all photo etch as well. I'll go the other way, wrong way. Okay, this is the photo etch, comes from Tom's Model Works. And hang on, wrong way again. Okay, this here is the bending jig that I use for the photo etch. And I don't know much about it because I got it from someone who I passed on. And anyway, so, you know, I'm putting the wood decks over the plastic decks. So that's why you see here. And this is the promenade bulkhead, which is the next thing I'm going to be working on. Another thing I'm going to be working on though as well is are the cowl vents. And this is the casting that comes with the kit. And these cowl vents are just 100% absolute crap. Okay. So I have a book that gives me dimensions of the actual cowl vents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scratch build these cowl vents. I did do cowl vents, scratch build cowl vents in 1/8 inch to the foot. And what I did with that is I took some brass plate, I annealed it, and then what I did is I got an oval head screw and pounded the annealed brass with the oval head screw, cut out the brass, soldered it onto a brass tube, and there you go. Well, this is 1:350, so I'm not going to be able to do that with these cowl vents. I've got several ideas on what to do, and I was wondering if you folks there who typically do this kind of modeling, give me a hand. One of the things I was thinking of doing is I've got some styrene sheet, and what I was going to do is I was going to make some dimples in a block of wood, take a hairdryer to the styrene sheet, and then basically punch a rounded dowel into it to make the cowl. And then what I would do is I would take some evergreen tube, notch out the evergreen tube, glue the cowl onto the tube, and then that would be my cowl vents. The book that I've got, they make them from vacuum form. But again, that's for a Titanic that's 1:96, much bigger. That technique's not going to work in this scale. So I'm going to try it and see what happens. I was just wondering if any of you experts know of a better way, or that I can try this.
What about 3D printing?
Yeah. Yes, 3D printing is something that I thought about. I'm trying to find a venue to do that. Let me stop the screen share, and I'll go to, let me start my camera up. Okay, let me show you. I got to open it up on my phone. Hang on for a second.
No, Gene's models are always much bigger, but he might still have some suggestions for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't, oh, wait a minute. Did I have the Kelvins? Oh, I know where I got it. Hang on. Oh, gosh. You know what? Never mind. I don't want to take up everybody's time. But anyhow, I got the Calvins from this Titanic book. There's 4 different sizes of these. Generally speaking, the cowl is double the diameter of the trunk. So I'm going to see what works. And thankfully, of the 4 different types, 2 of the 4, the only difference is that the trunk is longer. So the cowl's the same. So I'm going to, take a swag at this and we'll see what happens. And that's all I got. Yeah.
Joe Lorenzo. I have Shapeways criteria for their 3D printing that I could send you, and it tells you about what you can and can't do. I also have a contact there because I'm trying to do something with a ship wheel as well. It's probably going to have to be, if you went that route, it's got to be resin, because I think the wire form, the definition would not hold up for that scale. But if you'd like, I can send it to you. I have your email address.
Yeah, sure, Joe. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, and Tom, I mean, if you get I've got a resin printer. My son does. If you could get an STL file, we can probably print them up for you.
Well, I've just got pictures of the drawings in the book, and I have a table of dimensions.
Well, Tom, what about the item on Thingiverse that I showed you? Remember the cow vents that I showed you that were on Thingiverse?
Yeah, I sent you the information on that.
Yeah, I know. I just haven't had a chance to work on it yet. So,
Okay.
So anyway, Mike, yeah, there was actually a decent file out on Thingiverse for free.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
I mean, I was gonna attempt it on Monday for Tom if he still.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Josh, I'll wait for you then.
Wow, I mean, I just haven't had time to get to it yet, but it was on my agenda for Monday.
I understand. You got a daytime job. I understand.
So
anyway, so that's it, guys. Thank you very much.
Good job. All right. Over. Okay, have we reached the end, or is there more?
I'll be quick.
Okay.
I'm working on the, I don't know if you can see, the bow spirit and the jib boom are all rigged. You can see the traveler there. I did the safety netting on the jib and on the bow. And the foremast is basically rigged. And now I'm working on the main mast, the main mast and the main top gallant. And that's about where I am with my my Victory right now. I mean, she's coming along. And it's just
How close are you? How close are you?
probably another year and a half, because there are 6 lifeboats and I have to make the base. And so hopefully a year and a half.
How long have you been working on this?
3.5. March will be 4 years, Rylan. But it's good. Retirement's a marvelous invention, like the grandchild. It comes in handy. It's great, but it's just long, and I'm doing a lot of research because the kit is it's Caldecraft. It's a little different from Longridge, and I'm using Longridge also, and the anatomy of the ship. So I go back and forth. So that takes a little time, and I'm dyslexic, so that doesn't help either. It just takes time. But we're moving along. We are, which is good.
Beautiful job.
Thank
I
you.
have a one. I'll even be quicker than that.
Nice, Mark. That's really
My pleasure.
So anyway, for those of you that, at least for me, when I go away, I still want to model something, and sometimes bringing my own project isn't always the best idea. But I wanted to give a shout out to these metal earth kits, and I picked the Apollo because they kind of look like tinfoil things anyway when they were in real life. So all you really need is a pair of pliers and a pair of tweezers, and it has some fun detail to it. So anyway, just wanted to show that.
Those Hobby Lobby.
Mm.
Very cool. All right. If there's nothing else, going once, going twice, getting prepared for the auction. Going once, going twice. All right, we'll take a 10-minute bio break in between this and the presentation. Thanks.
No.